What is up, everybody? If you have found our little gem of a channel, you are on Easy Street. Easy Street Gaming. I'm Easy. Kind of a long video. Done a lot of videos lately. This one right here is about 20-25 minutes, but it is on the slap. This is the one that everyone wants to know about. Everyone's doing it. Our whole clan's doing it. We get smashed by it all the time. I'm sick of that. But great attack. Right now there's the witch event going on, so I think every person in the game that's over Town Hall 9 is using the witch. So we bring you a bunch of good attacks. Got a couple war, got a couple farm attacks. This first one is one of my accounts, Too Easy. We'll break down the attack a little bit for you in the first couple of replays here. What you want to do with the slap is you want to start off with the witches. You want to start off in two corners, and what we've been doing is we'll put in 3 witches, 2 healers, and then you have to add something to those witches to give them a little help. If you're in Town Hall 9, add a couple wizards. If you're in Town Hall 10, add a couple bowlers to each side. That way you have a good cluster of troops. The witches don't quite handle it on their own. Then you want to jump into the core of the base with your kill squad, which is going to be your heroes, whatever you have for clan castle troops. I like to bring either giants or golem. If you're at Town Hall 9, that's where you bring the bowlers. Then you're going to bring a second jump spell. You're going to have to bring a rage spell, and then from there on, you know, there's a lot of variations. I've seen people bring heal spells. I've seen people bring haste spells. You'll notice here, this is kind of a ring type base in Town Hall 9. I've said it, this would be the millionth time that they don't work in Town Hall 9. This could have been 3-star with giants and wizards, but you know, this attack is oh, I forgot I did this. We have a couple of, you know, the slap has some history, so I wanted to try to help everyone get some background on it. This is one of those attacks that you can use at a lot of different levels. This is flex. This is a war attack. This is from the war that we just ended. This is a pretty strong Town Hall 10. It still has some Town Hall 9 defenses, but they did a real good job on the walls. So now we all know when using the witch, one of the weaknesses they have is that they don't have a big punch themselves. They do have the skeletons, but they tend to go off everywhere. So they don't have the punch like the wizard has. So if they get caught up in a wall, they're not going to punch through it in 10 or 15 seconds. They're going to get hung up on it for a while. That ends a lot of these attacks. So you have to be mindful of that in the planning stages of the attack. That's why you'll see a lot of the 2, sometimes even 3 jump spells brought. You'll see a lot of earthquake spells. Be mindful of the walls. You know, you're going to bring, most of the time you're going to bring in healers too. The healers, you kind of want them to stay on the outside. If you haven't used the witch after the last little buff that they had, the witch does really well on the outside of the walls. They go around the outside, the skeletons go out in front of them, and although they don't trigger any traps anymore, they do manage to take care of all those trash buildings, and then the witches have a little bit of reach, and they can get over the walls for that outer layer of defenses on the other side of the wall. And if you group them up in groups of 3 or more, they take care of those defenses pretty fast. So you don't have to really worry about it. It's a two-way attack. You know, they're taking care of the outer trash buildings, and they're angled inside too. And you know, the defenses, I guess the last buff that they got, the focus was on the skeletons and how they acted, and they really do draw the fire from these defenses a lot better than they used to. So the witches will last a little longer. They do have a lot better damage per second themselves. So you're seeing them get through these bases. Now it's not like before. They still you take away the skeletons triggering the traps. This is I want to put this in here. This is what I feel like every time Nerve tells me no. Yeah, it's not like before where the skeletons they would trigger all the traps. They'd clear out everything in front of the witches, and the witches just had a heyday. Well, you know, now the witches, they get sprung, they hit the giant bombs, although they live through the giant bombs. So now you're going to see a lot of witches and healers. That's where the whole bitch slap comes in. That's where the witch walk comes in. Now this attack, this is a farm. I asked the guys in Damage to post up a few attacks. We got a couple from Flex, we got a couple from Romper Stomper, got a couple from myself. So got a couple great examples. Now I know that these aren't all Town Hall 10s attacking max 10s. And actually that's actually a pretty good example of this attack. You're gonna see, unless you are an elite player, it's hard to attack a max 10 with a Town Hall 10 with this slap. It really is. This is a great attack. I mean, a great attack for a little drop down for the 9.5s, because they have such a good spread with the skeletons. So if you're looking for that, you know, we see it a lot. Let's say you're charged with the drop down attack, and you know your clan's depending on you to get the 3 stars. What do you use? You know, Laloon is such a popular attack, but it has a tendency to either 1 star or 3 star. So you know you have to get the 3 star. You want something dependable. You have to go. You're a Town Hall 10. You're attacking a very strong 9.5. They have everything except for the Inferno Towers. What do you use? The slap is really a good option. So also just so we're all on the same page, in the middle of this video we have another small little update. We put out an update video yesterday, and I was actually watching some other channels, and I happened to go across Clash with Ash's channel, and he had a great description of what's going on. So we added some more information to the middle of this video. Just stay tuned for that. It's really, man, this is going to be some pretty cool stuff happening in this update. Okay, this next attack is from Romper Stomper. This is a Town Hall 10 ring base type thing. I'm not even a fan of it in Town Hall 10, although they can be difficult in Town Hall 10 if you separate the Inferno Towers. This one is not. I think this attack lasted under 1 minute and 30 seconds. So while I've been having problems with the slap attack taking too long and running out of time 95%, Romper Stomper gets through this base in amazing speed, and this is all good spell usage. He used the 2 jump spells to get through the core. He used the rage spell in the core. He just flies through this base, and this shows you the power of the slap. I mean, this thing, if used right, I can see how some of these elite players are saying it's a little OP. Me, I'm not an elite attacker. You know, I have the mind for everything, but I just don't. It doesn't all work out for me all the time. We have several guys in the clan that they just don't do wrong. Every time they try a new attack, they're 3-star with it in the first day. Romper Stomper is one of those guys, and he took a hold of this attack and has run with it. He could fill up 5 videos, half an hour each, with all the attacks he's done. It's just that good. So this is another great farm attack. Now, granted, this is the bad side to this. Not the best army composition to use farming, unless you're at the end of the town hall and you've already maxed out your heroes, and for some reason you're waiting to go to the next town hall and you don't have any use for the Dark Elixir. This is an expensive army. We're using 9 witches or 10 witches. I believe that at Town Hall 10 they're 350 Dark Elixir each, so that's 3,500 right there. Then you bring the bowlers in. The army composition, we'll go over that in a few seconds if we've got time. But you know, for a Town Hall 10, you're gonna bring 10 to 14 bowlers. Yeah, the cost is getting way up there to around 5,000 Dark Elixir. That is nothing you want to farm with. You can't make a profit on that. So this is one of those attacks that might be hard for people to practice. But nowadays we have the friendly challenge, so you can practice all you want in the friendly challenge setting. I know that's not quite the same as going up there in the multi-world, but it's still, you can get your practice in that way. Just imagine trying to do these attacks before the friendly challenge. I mean, that was one of the problems. I've had that problem with several attacks in the past. It was too expensive to practice, and that was the GoWiWi of old. Okay, this next one, this is Sable. This is now Sable's a Town Hall 9, max Town Hall 9, working on heroes now. I think the heroes are level 18. I can't see them on the screen. Anyone who's watched the channel knows that. Anyway, Town Hall 9, attacking a Town Hall 10. This is a 9.5, no Inferno Towers, but it's got high level walls. Again, another ring base. These things, I mean, if anyone ever wants to build a ring base, go watch anything on Easy Street Gaming, and you will not do it, because they don't work. They don't. I mean, I know in Town Hall 11 they're great, but when a Town Hall 9 is attacking you and you're a 9.5 or Town Hall 10, they shouldn't wipe you this easily. Granted, this doesn't happen often, but she enters the base, uses the jump spells. Even though this is a ring base, only had 1 set of walls in the interior, we still use 2 jump spells, and you know, you jump in and out of the core. That is the main problem with this attack, is that if you get hung up in the core, and that they will pick apart those skeletons. That the healers won't be able to hold them off. You only have 300 or so hit points for the witches, so if you have multiple defenses targeting you, and then that the mortar shells, dropping in on you simultaneously, they'll slowly dwindle away. So you've got to be able to protect yourself in the core of these bases. That is the biggest hindrance of this, other than the dreaded wall breaker fail, where you don't have anything go in the base and you go around the outside. And even though I've actually seen with my own eyes, this is not a he said, a wall breaker fail and have every troop go around the outside, and because the witches did such a good job protecting themselves with the skeletons, they actually looped around the outside, busted through at the end, and still 3-starred. So that's not, you don't see that very often. You're not going to see that with that, in Town Hall 9 with the 14 Valkyries that you see so often. You won't see that in Town Hall 10 with the bowlers and the healers. The healers will end up getting picked off by the air defenses. So pretty versatile attack. Honestly, I think this attack, I just don't see this working as well in Town Hall 10 and our clan. I know that there are 10s like Flex and Romper that have been able to do it well farming. It's harder to do in war. Town Hall 11s will kill with this attack. Town Hall 9s, even though you only have, in case anyone wants to know the technical meaning of a bitch slap, Town Hall 9s, even though you only have the clan castle with the bowlers, it's still such a good attack in Town Hall 9. Now this is Flex's second war attack. He's 6-packed with the bitch slap this war. The first one was on a full Town Hall 10. This was on a Town Hall 9.5. He said this was a little sloppy, but I watched it. It was pretty good. The witch did a lot of work inside. It's funny when you watch some of these attacks, how well they can go for some people. This would never happen to me. I'd never have the witch come into the core of a base and clean out like this attack goes. But now getting into some of the specifics of the attack, he starts off with, again, 2 groups of witches. He starts off with a group of witches on the top left-hand corner and the bottom left-hand corner, or this is the top corner and the top left-hand corner. And with them, he brings in, I believe, 3 bowlers. So he has 3 witches, 3 bowlers, and 2 healers on each side. And then on that first jump spell, you still see it on the outer wall up top. He brings in the clan castle full of giants, the rest of the bowlers, the heroes, and he's really quick to drop down that rage, that second jump spell in the core of the base. And you have to be careful of the clan castle troops, because witches don't have that punch, and you really want the queen to end up inside the walls to protect the bowlers. You also have to be careful of the giant bombs. I actually, on an attack that we're going to show later on in this video, had all of the bowlers disappear from 2 giant bombs, and they were underneath the heal spell. So you have to be careful of these giant bombs and these bowlers. They don't hang very well with these giant bombs. Okay, so another 3-star, and we're getting towards the middle of the video. Well, we're past the middle, but we got one more attack. Then we have some update news. Then we have a couple. What I wanted to do at the end of the video is show a couple fails and show why they failed. This is my favorite one. I wanted to show why they failed, because sometimes you can learn as much from the fail as you can from the good attack. Okay, this is another farm raid from Romper. Now, I've showed so many of these just so people can get the hang of its repeatability. It's doing the same thing every time and getting the same results. It's really important to be able to put the troops in the same place and get the same result. That way, it's a lot easier to learn. There's not a lot of middle of the attack action for you, like the Laloon, where you're having to, drop balloons everywhere, drop maidens everywhere, drop these spells all over the place, and really, you're all over the screen if you ever watch someone do a Laloon attack. Most of the troops are dispersed right away at the beginning of the attack, and all you're doing is being mindful of the abilities of the heroes and the spells. And you'll notice that we've had several attacks on these ring bases. None of them have stood. we're using the jump spell on the inner and outer portion of the core, which is important. And with so many troops going into that middle section, you know, he has the group of witches and bowlers up top, group of witches and bowlers down bottom, and then he puts in that big wrecking ball kill squad, is what I like to call it. You have the king, you have the queen, you have the bowlers, you have the clan castle troops. They eat through that outer wall pretty quick, so you don't have to use the jump spell on that outer wall. Okay, so this is the picture we found in the update. It was in yesterday's video, and listening to Clash with Ash, he had someone translate it all. And the top line says number 2 base camp or stronghold. Second line says Speedy Night World. And that little blue tab says update like never before. And something he was pointing out that I missed is, of course, we all see the boat. But what I didn't see right away was that they're all holding torches. And, of course, there's the moon up there in the background. So where I didn't have much validity towards this night mode, I'm starting to lean towards thinking that the night mode is definitely coming too. So have a lot of rumors, but with all the content that's coming out, I know it's not all here. I don't know why they cater to the foreign countries as much. I just don't know, but they do. I've seen that a lot in the past. But I'm hoping that this just isn't great propaganda, because it really could be. I don't want to look like a dumbass like everyone else. Okay, so look, this right here was a failed attack. Granted, it's a farm attack, and I believe I got all the loot. But what I wanted to do was show a couple failed attacks, and I used myself as the guinea pig. And I'll tell you why. Okay, this first attack right here, we used the earthquake spell to start up. And if you'll notice that the crossbow that's on the bottom, that's shooting down towards the right hand side right now, I was trying to break into that compartment along with the rest of the compartments on the earthquake spell. So something as little as missing one wall, that is such a big deal when using troops like the witch, because they can't go through the walls like the Valkyries can, or like wizards can, or like other troops can. So because I missed on that one, it was really one earthquake spell I missed on. I laid 3 of them down nice, and then I was off on one, and because of that, I didn't get that other compartment open. Now I did end up dropping in some hog riders, and because of that, I had to change the way I attacked the base. I brought in hog riders. I was going to attack the back side of the base with the hog riders, and because I needed the additional troops up front, because I needed to use the heal spell up front, I had to bring the hog riders in behind the troops instead of on the back end. So it changed the entire attack. So you're wondering why you're failing on certain attacks? Go back and watch the replay, and I'll be willing to bet that you've missed a spell, because that's usually the #1 reason why you mess up. You know, you think, oh, the troops are going crazy, they're not acting right, the queen went somewhere where she shouldn't, the troops didn't go into the jump spell. Well, a lot of times when you go back and actually watch the replay, and you don't put the blame on the computer, and you just, you know, openly try to see what happened, most of the time you're going to see that the error is right there in your own play. I know it sucks to hear that, but it's true. The computers don't make as many mistakes as we do, apparently. So, because I missed on that one earthquake spell, didn't get into that compartment, end up having to use the heal spell early, end up having to use the hog riders on the front side of the base instead of the back side. So this ends up being a 90-something% attack instead of the 3-star that I was going for. I was doing this attack specifically for the video. I figured, oh look, I got a nice semi-live attack. I wasn't recording, but that was going to be the, my live attack, and this was with Little Easy. He just now got to Town Hall 9, so I know it wasn't a 3, but that was a mistake on my part. But just look at those hero levels. Level 10 on the King, level 7 on the Queen, and still almost 3-starring a pretty decently upgraded Town Hall 9. Now this is my last war attack. A shameful, dreadful event. And just to give you a little history, I watched Flex 3-star with this brilliant attack, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm convinced. I know this base. I know I can do this base, and so I get ready. And the first thing I do, and you know, with me, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this long enough that I shouldn't make these mistakes. The very first thing that I do is I drop the witches, And instead of bringing the bowlers in with the witches, I bring wizards in. I have a Town Hall 9, and I started off the attack as if I was a Town Hall 9 instead of a Town Hall 10. Now, that's first mistake right away. Bam. Second mistake was I did not predict the giant bomb locations well enough. And when I dropped down the heal spell, I don't know if I either missed with the heal spell or I was late on it, but the giant bombs ate up all the bowlers right there in that first compartment. And I know this is the first attack on the base, but by looking at the base, you can tell where the giant bombs are. They're going to be right where I dropped all the bowlers. So that was a mistake right there too. So you have to be mindful of where you're going to put your bowlers. I put a jump spell right dead center into a double jump bomb. End up losing about 8 or 10 bowlers because of it. On top of that, I should have never had all those bowlers in there in the first place. I should have had 2 or 3 on the outside with the witches. You really want the witches to be out there with a couple bowlers if you're at Town Hall 10. The bowlers have that DPS that you need, and between the witches and the bowlers, if I had put them on the outside of the base, I would have lost less in the core, and then those 2 groups going along the outside would have lasted long enough that I would have been able to push all the way around the base. Lastly, the queen, she had a little mind of her own, and she decided to get caught up in a compartment, and she has 1 healer on her, so you know that as soon as she gets anything with any kind of serious DPS, like a crossbow or the crossbow or X-bow, whatever. So looking back at the last 2 failed attacks, you can show that the emphasis on these fails have really been on the spell placement. The first one was a fail because the earthquake spell didn't catch that inner compartment, and so there was a crossbow that was left behind the walls, which made me alter the entire attack. I had to use the heal spell because that crossbow was teeing off on the troops and they weren't able to reach it. I had to deploy the hog riders onto that crossbow, and which I had to follow the troops in with the hog riders instead of deploying them in the back end like I wanted to, and I had to use the heal spell in an area I didn't want to, so that changed that entire attack. And then in this attack right here, it started off wrong with the witches. I put the wizards in with the witches instead of putting the bowlers in with the witches. Yes, that was a mistake right there, but I think the biggest mistake was putting the bowlers in on top of the double giant bombs. I wasn't able to put the heal spell down in time, or I misplaced it enough that the bowlers ended up tripping over the double giant bombs and were slaughtered anyway. And they will, with the heal spell over the top of double giant bombs, if they trigger them one at a time, they will live through it. But if they hit them both at the same time, I think there's enough there to take them out even underneath the heal spell. So something to keep in mind. So I wanted to end up the video on a positive note. I went over to Sable's account to get that earlier recording, and I decided just to do an attack with her. Had the troops already. This is the very first base I came across. It's not a maxed out Town Hall 9, but it's pretty good Town Hall 9. Had a lot of resources on it. Having the witch event going on, didn't have to worry about the dark elixir as much. So we started off this attack the same way as we have every one. In Town Hall 9, you'll start off with 3 witches on one corner with 1 or 2 wizards and 2 healers. Now, I think on this attack I actually was a healer short, so I actually had 1 healer up top and 2 down bottom, so a small little alteration there as well. Now, I've been using hog riders. I've been using the hog riders in the Town Hall 9. I like to use hog riders in almost all Town Hall 9 attacks unless I'm doing an air attack that have the balloons to clear out. So end up bringing in, and this time I was able to bring the hog riders in the back end. Was able to deploy put the heal spell down on top of them, and what a big difference it makes having the witches push through this base on the front side, and then being able to put the hog riders in the back side. It's just a big difference. Was able to drop the last heal spell, kept those hog riders in the heal the whole time. Actually went over a giant bomb right at the end. The hog riders stay alive. Now, ran kind of low on troops, but going around the outside of the base, this is you're gonna see this a lot. Yeah, if the witches are going around the outside of the base with any other support troops at all. In this case, I believe that we still have the queen with her ability left. Granted, yes, there's a golem in the inside that's distracting the Tesla tower, but you have the queen going around. You have a handful of witches going around. The witches are going to keep on spawning the skeletons. This was a no contest 3. I know that there's not a lot of troops left, but witches are 12 housing space, so you have 2 or 3 of them. That's 4. You get, let's say 3 or 4. You're up to like 70 housing space or whatever. and so you don't have to have a lot of numbers to actually have a lot of strength left on the base. So I know this was a long video, sorry about that. I felt like this particular attack strategy needed some more time. I made a pretty quick video about it before. Now if you're learning the attack and you want to see, just turn off the sound if you have to and watch it several times. There are several very good examples in this video. You know, they're done the same way. If you watch other YouTubers, you'll see that they do them all the same way too. So I would suggest watching everything you can. There's tons of material on it out there. So excited about the update. I believe night mode is coming. I believe the second base is coming. Not sure. If it's not, this is a great hoax. So hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. Till next time, this has been Easy. Take care, everybody.